compatriots, thank you very, very much, first of all, for all of you, for Mr. Abraham, sorry. Thank you very much, first of all, for taking time and attending this solemn ceremony today to pay tribute to the memory of 1.5 million victims of the Armenian Genocide in the Ottoman Empire. This week we have been commemorating in Armenia, in Artsakh and worldwide with our friends this occasion. But the message for today is that with the recognition of the wrongdoings of the past, we attempt to prevent similar atrocities in the history of humankind nowadays. Unfortunately, the humanity has not so far closed the dark pages of genocides, as we have witnessed in the South Caucasus new attempts of aggression against the Armenian people or any other people in any other corners of the world. That's why, with our friends, we commemorate today the memory of Armenian victims of Armenian genocide, but also we send a strong message that these things must be called by their own names. Coming from Washington last year, I was Armenian ambassador in the United States. We will work hand in hand with US friends on the Hill and Armenian community to champion for the recognition, and I very much hope this campaign is going to continue worldwide with the recognition, broad recognition of the Armenian genocide. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Please. Yes.
Gentlemen, thank you for being here this morning. Last year we were a small group in number because of the pandemic. It's really good that I'm joined here by other officers of the Armenia All-Party Group, and perhaps John Speller from the Labour Party and Chris Law from the SNP will just say a few words after me. This is a truly cross-party united front we have on this issue. Some of us, Chris and I and others, were in Armenia just a few weeks ago, and I think one of the most solemn parts of our very successful trip there was to visit the Genocide Memorial in Yerevan, a deeply moving place, and the museum that goes with it tells the horrific story of those events more than 100 years ago, and that is something that we need to make sure more people know about. It may be, as I've said before, a distant corner of Europe, events that happened around 100 years ago, but they are no less important today to learn from, but also to hold to account. And so that's why we are keen that we continue to push on our government to recognise formally the Armenian genocide, as some 33 other countries around the world have done, most recently the United States of America. That's why all of us here have backed the Armenian Genocide bill, and John has a version of it himself as well, to keep the issue on the parliamentary radar as well. But I think for those who ask why it's so important, well, it's so important because of that grave injustice that was done to so many Armenian people that is, as we saw, still very strong in the minds of so many of the Armenian community in Armenia and throughout the world today. But it's also important when other genocides are being committed, as we speak in Xinjiang by the Chinese government and others, that if we are properly to challenge those, to call those responsible to account, then we can't brush under the carpet those past injustices that have happened and have not properly been recognised and form a proper part of everyone's history. So the All-Party Parliamentary Group for Armenia very much supports the work of the ambassador, the Armenian government, to get international recognition for what happened to Armenians all those years ago. And today is again an important part of that process to bring attention to as many people as possible in this country and beyond, how this is an important and particularly dark part of world history, and as many people as possible need to know about it, and that is what we are committed to continue to do in our work in Parliament. John, Chris, you want to add some words to that?
Ambassador, colleagues and friends, here we're at the Cenotaph today, and there are many wreaths there. Those were laid yesterday, on Anzac Day, by representatives of the armed forces and the governments of Australia and New Zealand, remembering how they travelled right across the world in order to defend freedom against the Axis powers in the First World War. And today we've laid wreaths to remember other victims during that war, those who suffered during the Armenian Genocide and who we remember today. And Hitler notoriously once said to justify the Holocaust against the Jews, who remembers the Armenians? Well, we remember the Armenians. And governments around the world are increasingly recognizing what happened to the Armenian people at that time as genocide. That's why Tim and I have got bills before the British Parliament to try and ensure that Britain joins those other countries in acknowledging the huge injustice and the horror inflicted on the Armenian people. And to say, as we also say about those who died in the Holocaust of the Second World War, we will remember them. And we are remembering them here today, but also every day.
John, thank you. Chris?
Evidence from countries who are prepared to give evidence about how we prevent mass atrocity. Something at the moment the UK government needs to work on in the Foreign Office to create a policy so that we can ensure that the atrocities such as the genocide in Armenia never happen again. So it's both a privilege for me and an honour to be able to stand here and share with friends and family and colleagues of Armenia in support for the recognition of genocide, and particularly in this Parliament. My last thought on it is the Welsh Parliament, the Scottish Parliament has already acknowledged and recognised genocide. It's now time for the UK Parliament to do so.
Thank you.
Good morning and thank you all for being here. Today is a time to remember, as we do every year, the crimes perpetrated against Armenians in 1915. 107 years ago, my grandfather was the sole survivor of his immediate family and eventually found refuge in Ukraine's city of Odessa due to mostly luck and considerate relatives. Nearly 1.5 million Armenians died in the aftermath of the Armenian Genocide. My grandfather later volunteered to the front line, and his eyewitness stories of columns of women, children and refugees are heartbreaking to read about. Today, we're unable to call the war in Ukraine a special operation. We simply can't. Equally, calling the Armenian Genocide anything else is a form of disrespect to the victims and survivors alike. In this country, we draw strength by the multicultural yet compassionate society we live in, where people are ready to offer their spare rooms and share their meals with strangers fleeing war. Today we honor the memory of both those we lost as well as those who survived, were displaced and lived through difficult times. Their spirit endures, and we must play our part in preserving the memory of genocide so that such deeds never occur in human history again. Thank you.
Our problems and have new type of relation with God and with people. All these efforts has the same aim to make such a good relationship for whole nations, for whole people. Now we need to just remember that here you can see part of survival generations from genocide. And we are people who believe in resurrection, and we always will struggle for having justice. That historical justice, and with your help, I hope that creed to understand that we can reach that step when justice will again have a victory on injustice. God bless all of you. My sincere prayers, appreciation, and blessing of God for all people who has devoted his soul for having this justice struggle. God bless all of you. May God rest their soul in heaven.